Conquest is a Viltrumite, one of the most powerful and ruthless warriors of the Invincible universe.
I'm not here to spread the greatness of the Viltrum Empire. I'm here because I enjoy this.
In the comics, he's a sadistic fighter who loves destruction for its own sake. But the TV show takes him in an entirely different direction. By season 3, we see him as more than just a villain. He's a product of a brutal culture that leaves him isolated even among his own kind. The Viltrumites are all about strength, survival, and domination. They don't exactly have group therapy sessions. But Conquest, he's feared even by them. They see him as unstable, dangerous, and as we'll see, untouchable. This isolation isn't just physical, it's emotional, psychological, and it eats away at him. Hey everybody, welcome back to Therapy Scenes channel. My name is John Cordray. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I love pop culture. And I use Therapy Scenes to bring out TV shows and movies and talk about mental health themes. And today we're talking about the villain, Conquest from Invincible. We're going to take a look at even a most mighty warrior can have a moment of weakness. And that's what we're talking about today in this episode. If you thought he was just a brutal Viltrumite powerhouse, think again. In season 3, especially in that epic battle between Conquest and Mark, the show gives us a shocking glimpse into Conquest's mind, revealing layers of loneliness, isolation, and even mental health struggles that you might not have expected.
Yes! This! I want more!
So stick around as we break down this iconic dark confession by Conquest in the Invincible. If you're new here, welcome. Hit the subscribe button, come back, reply, give me a like, all those good things. And that helps grow this channel. In the comics, it's all about surviving battles and viruses. But in the show, it adds a layer to Conquest that you may be surprised to hear or to see, that even Conquest, he is feared by his own kind, struggles with isolation, loneliness, and mental health struggles. It's like they took a sledgehammer to his tough exterior and brought out the human side, his struggles that he has been struggling with internally for a long time. And now it comes out in this epic battle scene between him and Mark.
I am so lonely.
The best example of Conquest really showing his weakness or his vulnerability here is during that confession where he stoops down and talks to Mark and kind of whispers in his ear as if Mark wants to hear it.
All the other Viltrumites are scared of me.
And he confesses that he is lonely.
No one talks to me.
He confesses that he feels isolated. He confesses that nobody likes him. He doesn't have any friends.
No one wants to be my friend. They think I am unstable.
Everybody fears him. And on the outside, Conquest, yes, that's what he wants. He's going to make people fear him because he's powerful. But on the inside, he has a vulnerability that probably even surprises him.
They send me from planet to planet committing atrocities in their name.
And that's what's fascinating about the show here.
And as I get better at it, they fear me more and more.
When he talks about feeling I'm so lonely, he's revealing something that he's tried very hard not to let other people know.
I am a victim of my own success.
Especially his enemies and especially his peers.
Conquest. I don't even get a real name.
And all of the other Viltrumites are scared of him. Nobody wants to be around him.
I am capable of so much more, and no one sees it.
They think he's a loose cannon. They think he is going to blow up and explode, and they have good reason to feel that way. But that brutality of Conquest is what's driving people away.
Not a single person in the entire universe would care.
They see his hard shell, his armor. They see his anger, the outward expression. But what they don't see is the internal struggle that Conquest is having. He's realizing that even though he's powerful, he's all alone. And that has a lot to do with his mental health. And when you're struggling with feeling lonely and isolation, I don't care how strong or tough you are, it's going to get to you. It's going to wear you down. And that's what we're seeing here in Conquest. And this isn't the Conquest that we're used to seeing, though. He's usually a smirky, bloodthirsty warrior that's going to crack your head open. It's going to break your bones. That's the Conquest that we're used to seeing.
See, to me, there is no greater pleasure than feeling the warmth of my fists drenched in blood.
When he reveals his vulnerability here at that critical moment, when he stoops down and talks to Mark and he confesses that he's lonely and he feels isolated, it's at that moment we really see the inside of Conquest. That was a complete surprise to many of us. And we see that here, and we realize that this is a mental health issue. And we know that people who isolate themselves from others are going to struggle with depression, anxiety. They're going to struggle with this feeling like there's something wrong with them, because nobody wants to be around them. And that's what Conquest is saying here. He's saying that the Viltrumites, they base their whole existence on survival of the fittest. They are strong, they are tough, they are ruthless. And Conquest he realizes that's part of who he is, but that's not all he is. And he realizes that there are parts of him that long for connection. And he doesn't have that, being this villain. And so the villain psychology here is quite fascinating. It's working on the thought process, the emotions, the behaviors. It's very likely his anger, his ruthless mentality of destroying people comes from his anger. And then what's underneath his anger is hurt and isolation and fear.
I've been playing with you, getting to know a new toy.
And so he has to make people fear him to avoid the fear and pain that he's feeling inside. Wow, that is powerful. And you know, that really talks a lot about this masculine toxicity that happens with a lot of people. We're in this culture where it's guys don't cry. We are told from early on, just pull up your bootstraps and tough it out. Don't cry, move on, figure it out on your own. And guys, you know, we struggle with that sometimes. And we struggle with letting people see on the inside what's going on the inside of us. And that can be scary. It can be really scary to let people realize that we struggle. And it's that masculine toxicity that's all around us. And I think we see that here with Conquest. He doesn't have any more comrades, no friends, no allies, no one even to share the burden that he's carrying for so long. And so he looks at Mark, his enemy, and he shares it with him. Why? Isn't that interesting? Why would he share that with Mark? You know, there's a lot of things we can do. We can speculate here. Now, by the way, I would love to know your speculation. Why did Conquest confess that to Mark? And why in the middle of this battle? Why do you think? You know, I think it very well could be that he just had enough. You're either going to explode or implode. And I think we're seeing a little both here in Conquest. He's imploding a little bit. And he needs to get it out. And so it comes out in this way, in a very violent way. So loneliness matters. We need to talk about this more, because this is something that we don't talk enough about. And that's loneliness and isolation. And I really like how the showrunners of Invincible really brought this out. We need to highlight it. And why not pick the most ruthless villain in Invincible to highlight it? And I love that. I love it. And so Conquest has aggression, and it's not just because he's a Viltrumite. He's a defense mechanism. We tend to have defense mechanisms. We get angry. That's a defense mechanism. When we isolate and exclude ourselves from people, that's a defense mechanism. We try to survive when we're struggling with our mental health, when we're depressed, when we're anxious, when we are stressed. We develop these defense mechanisms, and we don't want other people to see outside of our shell, because that's vulnerability, and that's scary because we feel exposed. And in that moment, when Conquest confessed that, he is sharing a very vulnerable moment in his thought process and his emotions. He letting his emotions come out a little bit. And he lashes out and fights and destroys because he doesn't know how to cope with it. He feels anger, and so anger comes out, and he doesn't know how to process that emotion. And so that is something that I really appreciate about this show, and about Conquest especially. And there are other Viltrumites as well, like that treat him with a mix of respect and fear, his own kind. And at first, I think Conquest likes it, but then he realizes, hey, when people are afraid of me, they're not going to open up. They're not going to be my friend. And so he's backed into a corner, and it finally comes out. And I think Conquest struggled with feeling like he was being used like a tool, not as a friend, not as a person. And so this dynamic of Conquest struggling with loneliness and isolation, and he finally reveals it, is amazing. It's impressive. It's a showstopper, right? It's like, whoa, Conquest said that. Conquest is feeling that way. And that's something that a lot of people, when you look at people in your own life, let's think about the person that you think is the toughest and the most has it all together, and that person struggles. I mean, think about that. The people around you, when you look up to them and you think, oh, they have a better life than I do. Well, you don't know. You don't know. And more likely they have something that they struggle with, just like Conquest did. Who would have thought that Conquest would feel this way? And he's trying to fill the void. You can't fill the void of loneliness with violence, because it's going to keep you more lonely. People are not going to be around you or want to be around you if you're violent or if you're angry all the time. They're going to have their own self-defense mechanisms and stay away from you. So this show, Invincible, talking about Conquest being the villain here. Yes, he's a villain. He's this big villain. He's powerful. He's invincible, but not really. That is the twist here. Conquest is invincible. He does have weaknesses. He does have vulnerabilities. And that is the beauty of this episode, or this show, bringing this out in Conquest. He is a villain for sure. He has enemies. He destroys people. And there's a lot about him that we can be angry about and not like him. But at the same time, we look underneath this facade of power and violence and ruthless anger. We can see under that. And yes, a villain, but he's also has emotions. And that brings us to being human. We have human emotions. Even your worst enemy has emotions. And that really came out here with Conquest. So villain, yes, but also human, have human emotions. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Therapy Scenes. As always, I appreciate you. We're going to be talking more about movies and TV shows coming up. If you have other recommendations, let me know. Until next time, take care.
Some days I feel so alone I could cry, but I don't.